I don't know, she just told her husband. I kind of want to fill you in what Megan was like before she got sick. She was always very active. She did gymnastics, she did dance, she did soccer. In fact, they called her the human shield because she would block anything with her head. Everything got hit and had a lot of soccer ball. Yeah. But she was always very active. Never really sick. A couple of ear infections, but never really got sick much in her whole life until she turned 16. Right after she turned 16, she got a stomach virus. Lasted 3 weeks, and she just never seemed to recover from that. In fact, that was the first time she ended up in the hospital with dehydration. She went to the ER, and then we went to follow up with the pediatrician. We said, something's wrong. She's still not recovering from this stomach flu. And they sent us to I'm going to call it GI doctor. You said the name of it. Gastroenterologist. He knows a lot more than I do on this stuff. So we went and saw a GI doctor in Tampa. And they're like, well, she's a teenage girl. Are you sure she's not making herself sick? Because she was throwing up probably 10 to 12 times a day. And I'm like, she's not, because she would get so upset and she would fight not to get sick. And I said, it's just not right, something's wrong. So they started running every test you can imagine. They did x-rays, ultrasounds, MRIs, anything you could think of, spokes, they did everything on her. And every month she was ending up in the hospital with dehydration. And at this time we were junior in high school. I think so, she was a junior in high school. So, of course, the doctors weren't finding anything wrong. All the tests were coming back negative, nothing's wrong with her. So everybody's like, she's got an eating disorder. In fact, her group of friends came to me one day from a store, it's when she had a coffee spot, and pulled me in the back and told me she was making herself sick and that I needed to take her to a psychiatric hospital. And I'm like, no. I know my daughter, she is not making this up. So we kept fighting, and this went on for like a year and a half. And in the meantime, Megan had lost pretty much all her friends. She had to drop out of not drop out of high school, but she had to be homeschooled at that point because she was in the hospital every month. And
I had one friend that stood by me through the whole thing, and everybody else
was yeah, it was hard. And we even had we lost a lot of friends and people in our lives just because everybody was making us up, you wanted attention. Even my business partner was like, you just want to get out of work, like to go sit in the hospital with her. And I'm like, no, this is my daughter, I know her better than anybody. They finally sent us to a neurologist, and they said she had cyclic vomiting syndrome. I'm like, okay, if it was cyclic, it would go in cycles and it would stop. And she was still getting sick every day, 10 to 12 times a day. And I'm like, that's not it, that's wrong. And so I took it on myself to start looking up the internet, which is a great place. I put in all her symptoms, did all the checks, and came up with gastroparesis. And we went to her GI doctor, and I'm like, can you test her for this? And she's like, well, let me do some research, see what it is and what we need to do. And they did a gastric emptying study, which basically she had to eat radioactive eggs, which she wasn't real happy about, but they were really gross. Yeah. So she did that test, and a normal person would be able to start emptying their stomach within an hour. She went 4 hours, a trace of food got through her stomach, which basically told them she had gastroparesis, which means your stomach's paralyzed. And she just couldn't hold anything down. So they tried all kinds of medicines. Some of the medicines made you a little crazy.
They made me not be myself. I was really mean to people and lashed out at people, and
Especially me.
I didn't know why, and I don't remember most of it. But there were points where the medicine made me crazy, and they would have to pull me off people because I didn't know what I was doing.
So of course everybody was like, she's on her head, send her to a psychiatrist. And I'm like, we have a test that shows that she's sick. So it was a big fight and struggle to get her help. We finally found out that after she had been in the hospital, over the past 4 years, she's probably been in the hospital 50 times. There were some months it was twice a month, and mostly it was just every month. But we finally found out that we went to Ohio and found out she could get a gastric neurostimulator, right? Which is basically like a pacemaker, works for your heart, it works for your stomach, and pushes the food through and like stimulates her stomach into working so that she could finally start eating again. She was very close to being on feeding tubes at that point, just because she could not keep anything down. So she got the stimulator, and I'm going to we have a video we're going to show. This shows what it's like. This is like people that she's met, and I'll let her tell you more after the video what she's doing and what God's using her to do. And the video will show you